Hi, I'm Evan Money, and I would just like to congratulate you on purchasing your Kingman International Spyder, one of the most dependable and trouble-free paint markers available today. What we're going to cover in this quick video is 5 different points. We're going to cover marker maintenance, troubleshooting, tech tips, accessorizing, and basic safety. There's the Spyder Compact A, the original Spyder, and the Spyder Compact P. The Spyder Compact A. Its two distinguishing features are the aluminum trigger frame and the vertical bottle mount. The original Spyder, which also comes with an aluminum trigger frame and the very popular bottom line adapter. Now, all three of the Spyder guns originated from this design. The Spyder Compact P, which also comes with a vertical bottle mount and a one-piece composite structure grip and frame. Okay, so go grab your Spyder, and we're going to make sure you get everything you're supposed to have. All right, let's open this up here. Okay, you will have your Kingman warranty card, registration card, you need to hold on to that, and your most valuable instruction booklet. Let's keep on that one. You have your foam padding there for protection. First thing you grab is your elbow. Next thing is your parts kit, your ammo box, your brass lined barrel, and of course, your Spyder. What makes the Spyder so reliable and so popular worldwide are these standard features. Brass lined barrel, the Venturi bolt, the unique striker system, and the power feed. Now we're going to go over some of the basic maintenance of your Spyder marker. But the first thing you need to make sure is always, 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 when working on your gun, to always disconnect the air source. So make sure that's all unscrewed and everything's taken care of before you work on the gun. Okay, what we're going to go through is basic oiling of the gun. Make sure to keep your gun properly oiled. That is the one most specific thing you can do to keep your gun working properly. Now what you need to do is go down to your local paintball shop or where you bought your marker and purchase the recommended gun oil. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to demonstrate exactly how and where to oil your marker properly. First thing you're going to do is you're going to unscrew it, and you're going to put about 1 drop on number 25, which is the striker spring. Put about 1 drop right in there. Okay, you're going to slide it forward, and you're going to oil number 18, which is a striker bolt. Put a couple ounces in there. And then you just work it back and forth, just like that. Or you can cock it and shoot it, however you want to do it. The last thing you're going to oil is the Venturi bolt, which is number 17, and that's this piece right here. And what you're going to do is you're going to move the power feed plug over, drop the dot of oil in there, and do the same thing, just work it back and forth. The best time to oil your marker is before playing, or right before the game. And you can do it in between games, and then the most important is you want to make sure it's properly oiled right before you put it away. The second thing we're going to cover is the maintenance and cleaning of part number 2, which is your brass lined barrel. And what you want to make sure is that during storage and right before gameplay is that you always have your barrel plug in the gun, and that is for safety reasons. Okay, so you go ahead and just take that out. Go ahead and unscrew the barrel. And go ahead and look down it and make sure that it is clean. Because if the barrel is not clean, the balls will be curving all over left and right and actually might cause ball breakage. So make sure you get a good quality squeegee and make sure that barrel is clean. Now we're going to cover basic cleaning of your marker. Make sure you get a nice clean table and you can lay it out and you don't have any distractions, so that way you don't lose anything. Now what you're going to want to make sure is that you always clean your marker after ball breakage and or when you're playing when you get a lot of dirt or anything else involved. And so what we're going to do right now is we're going to go over basically just taking it apart, and we're going to structure through how everything works. First thing you do is you grab your parts kit that is included with the gun. Now everything you need to take apart your marker is included in this kit. You're just going to go ahead and you're going to take out the smaller Allen wrench. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the striker knob, number 39. You can take that off, you set it down so you don't lose it. You're going to grab the Allen wrench. We're going to take off the number 7 sight rail screw. And make sure you also, which will slide out very easy, the number 23 bolt plug. Now we're going to unscrew the number 30 striker plug screws. And it's the same Allen wrench. Just unscrew it, pop it out. And like I said, make sure you have a clean towel and everything so you don't lose everything. Okay, now here's the trick. Watch carefully. If you don't hold this, the striker plug, what's going to happen is, no matter if you have air or not, it's going to pop out like that. So if you don't hold it, it's going to pop out, everything's going to go everywhere. You're not going to be too happy. So we're going to take off the striker plug. Okay. Now, key thing, make sure this is not on your parts list. There's a little disc, little metal disc right in here. Don't lose this, that little metal washer. That is important. Put that right back in the number 28 striker plug. And what I also recommend for you new players, or even if you're not, to make it easier for you, grab your instruction book and lay it out right in front of you. And that way you can line everything up right with it. So that way you don't get confused and you don't end up losing parts. And then you get frustrated and then you don't want to play anymore. Okay, so take your striker plug, number 28, set it down right here. Now it's important to keep it in the exact order that it's going to go, because a lot of times, a lot of the guns that are returned to the corporation, Kingman International, is because the parts are put in improperly, and then the guns don't work. So by keeping it simple and laying it out, you can always know where everything is. Okay, so right here, sticking out right here, this is number 27. This is the striker spring guide, and this little spring deal here is number 25, the striker spring. But what you're going to do is you're going to take your Allen wrench, and where your number 39 striker knob, where you unscrewed that from, you're going to put your little Allen wrench right in there, and that enables you to slide everything out. Okay? Now, what you're going to notice is there's a little space, if you keep sliding it, where you can stick your Allen wrench in, and everything will come all the way out, nice and easy. Okay? And so what we have here is the number 17 Venturi bolt. Okay? We have the number 18 striker bolt. And right here, once again, is the number 25 striker spring, and number 27, the striker spring guide. And then number 26 is the striker buffer, which is the most frequently left out part when putting the gun back together. Okay, now once you slide all this out of here, you really shouldn't have a whole lot of dirt in here. If there is, just go ahead and wipe it off with a cloth and make sure you get all that out there, because when you put it back in, you're just going to re-oil it. But make sure on the striker bolt, with number 18, this little piece, go ahead and grab it. You want to make sure that the striker bolt O-ring is intact, number one, that there are no chips, okay, or it's frayed or anything's damaged, because if that O-ring isn't, like I said, perfectly intact, you're going to have a lot of problems. So where do you get one? Well, go ahead and look in your parts kit. And it is the clear O-ring. Okay, go ahead and get it in the parts kit. Now this is different than the pin valve O-rings. A lot of people think they're the same, and they are not. Okay, so don't confuse me with these. Everybody go, oh yeah, I got one, because that's the wrong one. It's this one that comes in your parts kit. It's the clear one. So if it's damaged anyway, just go ahead and replace it. So once these are all, like I said, clean and lightly oiled, you're ready to go. Now we're going to put everything back together. But what you want to make sure is that you look down through your gun, the gun body, and make sure everything's clear of debris or anything else in there. And what you're going to do is you're going to grab your Venturi bolt, number 17, and what makes it easier to put it back together is when you grab your striker plug, number 18, you just put them back together just like that, and you're going to slide it right back in the gun. Now, it slides in pretty easy, but you want to make sure you line everything up. Now, you just put some light pressure on the bolt. Now, if it doesn't want to go in, just make sure you pull your trigger, and it'll slide right in just like that. Okay? So you slide it in, and the more you go, just keep pulling the trigger, and it'll keep going in. Okay? Then you're going to grab your number 25, okay, which is the striker spring, number 27, striker spring guide, and number 26, a striker buffer. You're going to slap that right in there like that. Okay? And make sure you hold on to it, because you don't want to tip it and have it all fall out. Okay? And then you're going to take your striker plug, number 28. Remember that we don't lose that little metal piece. You're going to put that in there, and you're just going to line up these side holes with these holes on the side of the gun. Slap it in there. Okay? Make sure you hold it, because it is spring pressure. You don't want it to fly off all over the place. And then you're going to take your screws, and you're just going to line them up. Pop them right in there. Now also at Kingman they tell me when you're putting these in, do not over tighten them. That is one of the major problems. So just snug, no big deal. Okay, now you don't want them too loose where they're falling out, but just do not over tighten. Put that back right in here. Okay. Now we're going to take our number 23 bolt plug and pop it right in there. And with the sight rail, you're just going to have to line it up. Put your screw in there. Just going to have to line it up right in there. Get it in there. Usually it goes pretty easy just like that. Like I said, don't over tighten this one either. Okay? Because like I said, don't be a He-Man, just snug. Okay, last thing, you're going to take your striker knob, number 39, screw it right in there. Like I said, don't over tighten it. And then like I said, you're going to, in the beginning of the video, you're going to take your oil. We're going to go here, here, okay, and back in the Venturi bolt again. And voila! Okay, we're back, and today we're lucky enough to have with us Alan from Kingman International to help us work on some troubleshooting and some of the mechanical problems that you might have with your Spyder. Now, one of the things that Alan let me know before we start here is that over 25% of the guns that he works on are due to improperly maintained guns, i.e. not enough oil or something like that, or guns that are put together incorrectly. So you guys want to make sure when you're putting the gun back together, it doesn't work right, go back through the video and make sure all the pieces are in the right place. Now the first thing as far as troubleshooting I want to cover is an air leak. Now I'm not too familiar with these guns, that's why we brought Alan here as the expert. Now Alan, I got this Spyder here. What happens when I turn it on? You can see I got the air leaking out of the barrel. Now what is that?
Generally speaking, air leaks come from the valve body area, and that can be a number of problems such as scarring on the valve body or torn valve body O-rings or a worn out cup seal.
Okay, now let me break out real quick what all that was. This is the valve body number
14.
Okay, yeah, see, that's already bottom line. Okay, this is the valve body, and this is located in your gun. Now what Alan's going to do is he's going to take it apart. We're going to go step by step how to repair these. So it could either be the valve body O-rings you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and those are one of the O-rings that go on the valve body. Now these are the same O-rings as the Venturi bolt, correct?
Correct.
And they are located in the parts kit?
Yes.
Okay, so we want to make sure that the O-rings, okay, are not chipped or scarred or cut, and also that the surface right here is not damaged in any way. And you also said it might be the cup seal?
Yes, sometimes the cup seal will get lodged with dirt and debris and cause small air leakage.
Okay, now what number is that?
This is a number 12 cup seal.
Okay, so the number 12 cup seal. So these are the two things that it can only be for an air leak?
Yes.
Okay. So what are we going to need exactly to do this job correctly?
Basically, you would get a pencil with a soft rubber eraser or any kind of wooden stick or soft object that wouldn't scar any of the metal pieces on the valve body. You would get the hex key out of your parts kit, flathead screwdriver.
Okay, make sure you don't get the Phillips kind, the flat kind, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's it. You're ready to go.
So the first thing you need to do is what we disconnect the air source, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, can you leave the barrel in, or does that matter? Or
It's more convenient if you take the barrel off. It's easier
Okay.
to get to the reservoir plug.
So go ahead and take that out. Now, you guys want to make sure that you also have, like I said, a nice clean surface to work with. There's going to be a lot of parts that we're going over, and you don't want to lose them.
Okay, first you would remove the reservoir plug.
Okay, now is anything going to fly out of there? Or?
There is a spring, which is the valve spring inside.
Okay, what number is that?
It's number 10 on
Number
your
10, so the number 10 valve spring.
but it's not as pressurized as a striker spring.
Okay,
so
now
it's
what's
not
all
gonna
that
fly out.
stuff you just took out?
This is the valve spring right
Yeah,
here.
that's number 10.
There's a spring guide and cup seal and valve pin.
Okay, so that's all put together like that.
Mm-hmm.
That looks pretty easy.
And next you take off your trigger frame assembly.
Okay. So we don't have to leave, we can leave the hose on?
Yeah, you can leave the hose on.
Okay. Now what we're taking out is this thing right here. Now what's that called?
The valve body.
Okay, valve body. And the two things that are going to be wrong, from what I understand, is that either the O-rings are going to be damaged or the surface of the valve body.
That's correct.
So, like what I used to do is I used to try to get this out or cram it down with like a screwdriver or something.
When you put foreign objects, like a screwdriver or anything hard that can scar metal, that's probably the #1 cause of leakage. Most people don't understand that if you scar the valve body, that you're going to get a major leak.
Okay, so we want to make sure we keep that surface really clean and scar-free and kind of be nice to it.
That's correct.
Okay. So we unscrew both those bolts,
Mhm.
okay. Oh, then we're going to take the whole thing apart.
Yes.
Okay. Like I said, if you guys get lost, just go ahead and pause, rewind. Like I said, he's just unscrewing everything right now. Now, Alan, you do this how many times a day?
Too many times.
And that's kind of the main reason we made this video for you, so you can understand some of the basic like troubleshooting problems. So that way you don't have to waste your time setting the gun back, and you can do it yourself right here. And if you notice, like I said, he's laying everything out in front of him. He's got on a nice towel. He knows where everything is. Okay, now any special instructions to get this out? Or?
Now the whole gun is basically disassembled.
Okay.
One thing I forgot to mention was underneath the trigger frame you have a valve body screw, which holds the valve body in place.
Okay, what
that
number is
needs to be removed.
Okay, that's number 15. Now to get the valve body out, what we're going to do is we're going to stick the pencil inside, and it just pushes right through.
Correct.
Hey, that's pretty cool. Okay, now if you notice, from what Alan tells me, you can see the valve body here is scarred over on here in this area, and that's why the air is leaking out of the barrel. So you want to make sure it's a nice smooth area. Now, if we have a damaged one, how do we fix that, Alan?
Damaged valve bodies as this, they would have to be replaced.
Okay.
But as far as O-rings, can be replaced easily.
Okay.
In the same way that we just took out the valve body.
Okay. So, like I said, if this area is scratched and damaged like that, the best thing is to do is send that piece to Kingman International?
Yes, we can either do a repair or we'll replace it or send you out a new one.
Okay. Now, what Alan has in the hand is the white part right here. That is the cup seal. Now, what you're going to do to replace that is, like I said, you just take a wrench and crack it off.
It basically comes off counterclockwise. What you need to do is get a pair of pliers and just screw it off.
Okay, and then when you put the replacement one on,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you just screw it right on?
Correct.
Okay, do you use any Loctite or real tight?
Loctite isn't really necessary. We use Loctite from the manufacturer just for safety precautions, but it stays pretty snugly. So
okay, so what you're going to do is if this cup seal is damaged in any way, nicked or chipped, you're going to go ahead and replace that. Let's look in your parts kit. You just go ahead and screw the new one on, and then that will solve all of your air leak problems. Now what we're going to do is we're going to have Alan go ahead and put this thing back together again real quick, just to get an idea how it goes back together.
The manufacturer, Kingman, makes a white O-ring here and a black O-ring here, just so it's easier for you to tell which way goes in first.
So which way is the right way?
The larger diameter hole is usually the correct way. The larger diameter hole should face the barrel, so something like this.
Okay, so the white O-ring goes out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The valve body does get scarred by improper techniques of taking it in and out. So a lot of people try to take it out with a screwdriver or something and cram it out of there. That's why you want to use the pencil and be very gentle with this. So I'm going to turn over to Alan, have him put it right back together.
Okay, when you put the gun back together, always remember that the beveled edge and the smaller diameter hole should go towards you. Most people worry about ripping their O-rings on the threads, but if you put a little bit of oil on the O-rings before and just lightly push it in, there should be no problem. And it should come to a stop or snap in because there's this valve body pin which holds it in place. And you would adjust the alignment with the valve body screw. And
Okay, so that way you just make sure it lines up.
Correct. So when you put the valve body screw back in, it'll hold it in place.
Okay, that looks easy enough. That's a good thing we had you here, Alan. Okay, now just make sure you don't over-tighten that one either.
Correct. The brass will strip if you try to over-tighten it, and comes to a certain point where it just stops.
Okay, so no He-Man techniques. Just go ahead and put it back correctly. So you can put the trigger frame on first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. fast forward. Once again, you just make it snug.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Then we'll go to the valve assembly.
Okay, now what is that little start thing? What does that do?
Okay, that's a cup seal guide. It guides the cup seal and the valve pin into the valve body, so it doesn't wiggle around or jiggle.
Okay, so that's number 11. Now what happens if that's damaged? Is that...
This rarely gets damaged unless you remove it and use pliers or something to bend it out of shape. If it does get damaged, you can give us a call, and we'll usually send something out like this for free.
Okay, so you want to make sure you guys don't get too crazy with the tools, and make sure you're very careful when assembling and disassembling. So you just slide it right back in there and screw it in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now how tight do you tighten that?
It really depends. This can be used as a cold weather velocity adjustment. What it's doing is the more you turn it in, the more tension it puts on this valve spring, which in turn puts more pressure on the cup seal. So it requires more tension or more pressure on this spring to cock your bolt forward and release air into your chamber. So usually I tell my customers to just make it flush with the body of the gun.
Just want to keep it right in there.
Yeah, if you're having high velocity, you would screw it all the way in.
Okay, tighten the spring.
And if you're having low velocity, just have it a little flush with the body.
Okay. Okay, tech tip number 2. Now I have a gun here that sometimes when I shoot it tends to rapid fire. So I'm going to see if it'll act up for me with you and see what's going on. What does that mean? What happens when it does that?
Yeah. Okay, it's either the striker O-ring, the venturi bolt with the pin and the screw that holds it in place, or it can be a worn sear or a striker bolt sear.
So what I understand, you, Alan, it's going to be this piece. Now what is this called?
That's a striker bolt.
Okay, what number is that?
Number 18.
Okay, and so it's going to be this O-ring right here that might be damaged?
Which is number 19.
Number 19. So either that, make sure you look and see that's damaged, or on your venturi bolt, which is number 17. And it might be these O-rings right here?
Yes.
Well? Okay, or the pin. Now this might be damaged or adjusted wrong.
Best way to check is pull it out. You can either feel if it's loose, or if it's doing this, then you know that it's loose.
Now how do you adjust that?
Best way to put it back together is there's a notch on the pin where it tells you where to screw it in. You put it back into the bolt.
Oh, so there's a little Allen wrench right there, okay.
And with the screw in the back, get your hex key and align it and just screw it back in.
Oh, no, so if that's loose, that'll cause that problem.
Yeah, so now it's nice and snug.
Okay, so you should make sure that's snug, make sure the O-rings are correct, and now if it's not those, from what I understand, it could be a worn trigger sear right here. So this part right here is worn from too much use, or...
Correct.
Okay, so if the gun's really old, that's what would probably happen, okay. Or this piece right here would be worn out, it wouldn't be catching.
It would be this portion right here.
Okay.
You'd be looking for a dull edge.
Tech tip number 3. Now what happens sometimes I'm shooting with my Spyder, I'm getting rapid fire, I'm going, sometimes I'll break a ball, which is obviously common in paintball, and what happens is I was breaking a lot of balls, so what besides, what could cause that in the gun?
First, you want to make sure that it's not because of the auto firing that you're popping balls.
Okay. But if I get that fixed and it's still chopping balls?
If it's still doing that, you just want to do some basic checks, such as check your barrel, make sure there's no dents or indentations in the barrel. Make sure it's nice and smooth. Make sure you have a clean barrel. Second is another problem related to double feeding, maybe ball breakage, would be behind this number 4 claw cover. There's a little rubber nipple, which is number 3 in your instruction manual. If that piece is missing, you're going to get double firing and maybe some ball breakage.
Some of the other troubleshooting problems for broken balls could also be poor paint. So you want to make sure that you get a high quality of paint that you're shooting with your gun. But now we're going to go over, and Alan's going to show us the ball stopper. And what you're going to need to take that apart is you're going to need your Phillips screwdriver, and that's about it.
Correct.
And so what you're going to do is you're just going to be unscrewing these twos, and this is, what piece is this?
That's a number 3 ball stopper.
Okay. And if that is missing or damaged, the balls will feed more than one at a time and cause breaking.
That's correct.
Okay. Another troubleshooting place for broken paint is something to do with the power feed. Now, in order to do that, you're going to need a dental pick, which we have here, and Alan's going to go ahead and demonstrate what we do with that. And you can purchase these at a local hardware store, and they're very inexpensive, so don't go asking your dentist for it. Just go to a local hardware store. I think they're under $1, and Alan's going to show us exactly what we do.
Okay, for the power feed repair, what you're looking for is burrs in between the power feed here and on the other side here. And with the dental pick, what you do is just clean out the burrs.
Scrape that really hard, or?
Actually, it depends on how much of a material you have caught in there. So if it's like dirt and paint and just years of debris building up, then it's going to be pretty tough.
Okay.
But the best way to tell if it's clean is if you can see a space or an opening in between your power feed.
Okay, so that's basically what you want to do. You want to see a space?
Correct.
Okay.
And after you're done with the dental pick, what you would need is maybe some sandpaper, wet and dry, some kind of rag that you can get inside the power feed and clean the burrs out, or the debris that you just picked out.
Okay, so to recap ball breakage, there's a number of things we want to make sure you guys understand. Number one is that you use a good quality paint. That'll make a big difference. You want to make sure you keep your barrel clean on the inside and that there are no, like I said, scratches or dents or anything over here. You want to make sure that your ball stopper is intact and working. And you also want to make sure, like Alan showed us with the dental pick, is that you keep this area right here clean and free of debris. Now, if you're trying to shoot 800 balls per second, obviously you're going to have a lot of ball breakage difficulties. The gun can only recycle so fast. So just make sure you get a good steady rate of fire, like I said, some quality paint, and some of the other troubleshooting tips we showed you, and your gun will be working fantastic. Tip number 4, Venturi bolt wear and tear. Now, Alan, I have a Venturi bolt that I took out of my gun, and as you can see, it's kind of worn out along the side, and it looks pretty beat up. What causes that, and there's a way to prevent that, or how does that work?
Okay, wear and tear on the bolt is basically okay. It's a basic part of the gun. It's because of the unusual design of the bolt. Its long, slender design causes the air to go through this hole and out through the front portion. So when you pull the trigger, the air goes through the chambers, goes up, pushes up on the bolt, causing it to scrape on your receiver. And that's just a normal part of the gun because of the long shape.
Now, with the new one, like I said, there's no scratches or whatsoever. That won't hurt the gun performance? Or?
No, this is going to stop after a certain point. A lot of people call in and ask, is it just going to deteriorate my whole bolt? No, it's not. It's going to stop after a certain point because of the bolt pin. The bolt pin has a certain amount of angle which it's allowed to go up on, and after that certain point it'll stop.
Some of the most frequently asked questions to Kingman International, and I'm glad we still have time to have Alan here to answer some of these, are, number one, a lot of people ask about sighting the gun. One of the bigger questions is also about liquid CO2 and that entering the gun. So we're going to go over that real quick. Like I said, we're going to answer some of those top 2 questions. And number one is actually sighting the gun. Now, from what I've told about Alan, a lot of people call up and they say, I can't sight my gun, or the power feed gets in the way when I try to sight my gun. What the sight is designed for on the stock Spyder and also on the compacts is to allow a scope or some other sighting device on top of that. If you do not have one of those, what you can normally use is most players use their first ball, and they kind of see where that first one goes, and they judge their next shots from there. So if you do not have an aftermarket sight to put on the sight rail, it won't be of any use to you. Now, the second most frequently asked question at Kingman International, according to Alan, is liquid CO2. Now, what a lot of people don't understand is how the liquid CO2 affects their gun. if you are using CO2 on your gun, you have to understand that you want to keep as much liquid out as possible. What I would recommend for you to do is go down to your local paintball shop and ask them to install a anti-siphon on your tank. Now, your local paintball shop will know what you're talking about. Now, if you're using a remote system, you don't want to have that installed. Also, Kingman specifically recommends the use of an expansion chamber or any other devices that help keep the liquid CO2 from getting in your gun. Once again, if you have any questions about this, just go down to your local paintball store or call Kingman directly and ask him a little bit more in detail about this. A lot of people want to know about accessorizing the Spyder. Now, the best thing about the Kingman International Spyder and the Compact is that there are hundreds of accessories that you can use for this gun. Now, for a normal recreational player, if you're just going out to have a good time, you just might want to keep the gun the way it is. But if you're looking to become more of a tournament player, there are a lot of upgrades that you can do. Now, Alan, what does Kingman International recommend as far as upgrades from like tournament use or just better performance?
It would really depend on how far you wanted to go up on the tournament level. If you're just a basic recreational player looking for a little bit more accuracy, you would look into an aftermarket barrel, maybe a Venturi bolt. If you're going into tournament levels and are seriously thinking about moving up in the scales, I would suggest looking into like high-performance valves. They have expansion chambers, 45 grips. They make aftermarket trigger frames and all sorts of other goodies that you can add onto a Spyder.
One last safety tip before you go. Make sure whether you're just a brand new beginner, intermediate, or tournament player that you always have these three items. Number one, your safety and protective goggles. Number two, you're always using a barrel plug. And number three, you have the use of a chronograph available. With those three items, that'll definitely keep your paintball playing safe and fun. Before we go, we really want to thank Alan from Kingman International for coming on out.
Anytime.
Thanks, Big Alan. Appreciate that.
No problem.
And Kingman International sincerely hopes that through the use of this video, you can get the most out of your marker. And if you have any questions about your Spyder product, feel free to call the number that's on your instruction book, and they'll be more than happy to assist you.